My name's Uyeda. I'm the lead golf instructor here at the Grand, and I'm spoiled beyond belief. It is 100% an honor to be here. Shocked that I would be chosen to speak in front of you. Don't deserve it, to be honest. There's so many people here that have already forgotten more than I'll ever know. So, again, I'm just honored. But when I speak in front of people, I always try and thank the people that got me here. And we've been talking about mentors this whole time and people that have helped us along the way. Sean, where are you, Sean? Can't thank you enough. If everybody knows Sean Cox, he's always doing things for other people. He rarely does anything for himself. When somebody calls the Grand and wants to get any information on golf in a magazine, be in a video or whatever, he always puts me in front. And he's helped my career immensely. And I can't thank you enough, Sean. So thanks, Jared. Appreciate it. To the Fairmont, to all the outside service guys that help me out on a daily basis, and some of them are able to kind of stick around and watch, and they've seen me kind of do my thing, whether it's teaching up there, full swing stuff, short game stuff. They make my job and Sean's super, super easy. So if you guys are around, appreciate it. You know, the maintenance crew here is top notch. So we have a great facility to teach at. Guys at Stadium Golf Center in the past, I've hung my hat there. Monty Leong, I don't know if you're still here, and Scott Malberg and those guys, they're family to me. So again, much love, appreciate it. We've had a couple really world-renowned teachers here who just both recently passed away. How long have I been here, Sean? Almost 10 years? So Phil Rogers, been able to watch Phil Rogers before that, a little bit at La Jolla, when Sean would have me out when he was over there, and having Phil Rogers come and teach here, to be able to learn from him. And my mentor, another one of my mentors, my main guy is a guy by the name of Carl Welty. I don't know if many of you have heard of him. He basically has taught me pretty much everything I know. I would go out and film for him. He'd tell me how bad my camera angles were and that it was worthless, and to go out and do it again. But by his standards, I figured out how to film and what to study and why to study it, and that everybody was pretty different, but they did a few things the same. And it's gotten me to a point now where I've been fortunate to hang out with some pretty good players, some local college guys. Met Xander Schauffele about 5 years ago. He was a junior in college and a great ball striker. His dad works with him on that, but he didn't really putt very well. So fast forward to now, make a long story still kind of long, he's done a little bit better, and it's still a work in progress. So I want to thank those guys, and basically, we're talking about putting. I'm not going to really talk about the stroke very much. It's kind of the last thing I look at, to be honest. When somebody comes to me, I want to see what they see. And Bob Madsen said something the other day. He said, well, if you had a phrase or a word, what would it be that you used a lot? And I would say calibrate. I want people to be calibrated. I want their eyes to be calibrated. I want how they stand to be calibrated. I want what they're looking at on the ground to be calibrated, talking about greenery and stuff like that. But if you're going to take one thing away today to make more putts, because I get it all the time, hey pro, how do I make more putts? I need to score lower, I need to just knock a few shots off. And I would say, well, hit your ball on the green to where you have a straight putt, straight uphill putt. Because once you have curve, speed matters. And it sounds kind of stupid, but I was with Jason Day I don't know, does anybody here know Jason Goldsmith at all? He's a Focus Band guy. So I was with Jason Day, Jason Goldsmith, and Cole 2015 at Torrey where he won. And they said they were struggling hitting the golf ball. I didn't see them miss a shot. But what they were doing was they were reverse engineering every hole to every hole location. So he said, if the hole location is here, I need to be over here, which means I need to tee the ball up here to hit this kind of shot so I can give myself a straight uphill putt to this hole location. Okay? So that's the key. If you can give yourself a straight uphill putt, speed doesn't matter that much. You can die it in the front edge or you can firm it in the back. It's going to stay straight. But once I have a putt, now I don't know if everybody can tell how this green is sloped. If I have a putt from 8 feet where I've got to play some break and I hit it on a perfect line, perfect roll, really good read, but I hit it too soft, it's going to break across the front of the hole and I'll miss. Or I can gas it and hit it through the break. I've done everything well except for control speed. So understanding like our members and our students that we teach, a lot of times, even if they're good chippers, they'll try and chip one in, and occasionally they'll leave it on the high side, and now they got a downhill 3-foot slider, and they miss. Whereas if they were to chip it somewhere over here, where the putt's a little straighter, and it's a little more uphill, they got a better chance of making it. I mean, it's kind of that simple. I mean, this is where the tour players think when they have these greens books. Has everybody seen these tour greens books? I mean, they have lines and numbers and arrows and all kinds of crap on them, and it's telling them basically how the greens slope. So if you know where the hole location is, pretty easy. Now, getting the ball to that point is difficult. That's a little bit of a different story, but again, if you can constantly give yourself uphill straight putts, you'll make more putts. Does everybody kind of understand that? And if anybody has any questions while I'm talking, feel free, because I'm just going to kind of go over some of the stuff that I was talking about. So somebody asked earlier about the line on the ball. Who was that? Line on the ball, and then you get over it and it doesn't look right, and you get behind it and you're looking at it and it looks right, but then you get over it and it doesn't look right. So one of the things that I was going to talk about, hang on one second, Brett Saunders. So Brett's a good buddy of mine. He's from Canada, really good pro. He teaches a lot of really good players. Going back to, just real quick, I'll get back to the one. He talks about the slice of pizza. So if you got a good junior golfer, every junior golfer loves pizza, hit it into the correct slice of pizza. Anchovies over there. Pepperoni's right here, right? Makes it a lot easier. But the line on the ball, and I'm not saying this works for everybody, but one of the things Carl always told me that he liked to see in players is get your neck parallel to the ground so that when you turn your head, I'm going to get down here so you guys. So I got these lines on the ground. So can everybody afford like a $2 piece of wood from Home Depot? So if you have a shed or something at the club where you can just kind of draw some lines down on the ground, there's 2 lines here, well, there's 4 lines here, and there's 4 lines over here, and I used that board to draw lines on either side, so they match up. So what I've seen, again, like I said, it doesn't necessarily work for everybody, but it's been pretty good. A lot of people, when they set up to a putt with their posture, they turn their head, and their eyes are not perpendicular to the ground. So we did at the PGA Championship, we did a practice round with Matt Kuchar. He putts pretty good. Most of the time, he putts pretty damn good. And I looked at his posture, and I looked at how he's bent over, and he's got this kind of long putter braced up against his arm, and he's way down here like this. And then I kind of looked at Nicholas, and I looked at some other really good players. Now, not everybody. Tiger stands up pretty tall, and his eyes turn, and they're definitely not like this. But whenever you want, if you want to do it now, you want to do it later, you can get over these lines and look at them. I know when I stand tall and I turn my head like this, these lines that are right underneath me look like they're pointed this far to the left, which makes aiming difficult. So I get myself bent over and I get my neck more parallel to the ground and I turn my head and now my eyes are kind of looking straight down this. We said this is a side-on sport where the ball's on the ground, right? So if I turn my head and my eyes are more perpendicular to the ground, those lines that are on the ground start looking a little bit more accurate. So Stan said something earlier about aim, and I've never really seen a good player aim correctly. He is spot on. It is, I mean, some of these guys are so athletic and they're so good with their hands that they're able to get the ball on line even though they're not aimed correctly. So for us as instructors, boy, you better be careful what road you go down, because all of a sudden, I had a kid that played at USC. His name was Bobby Guanco. And he was, I mean, he hooped. He was a really good green reader, but he aimed left. And he started his ball on line damn near every time. And he was the best punter on that team. And I never changed it. I never changed it. He didn't really want to take golf anywhere after that. Even if he did, I don't know if I would have. So you got to be careful. Now, I work on aim a lot. Just kind of going through basically where I started. I'm just going to say with Xander, but it doesn't, to me, everybody's the same. I'm going to teach one of our members that plays Saturdays and Sundays just like I teach Xander, or Charlie Hoffman, or any of these guys, Nahum, some of these guys that are coming up that you'll hear about. I want to know what they see first. So for us as instructors, if I have somebody out the very first time and they're going to hit a putt, I want to know where they're looking. So, I mean, if there's a putt here, these are pretty critical putts because the guys at our club don't give these. I'll take it if you give it to me, you know. But I'm looking at a putt like this, and I'm going to ask the player, well, what do they see? Now, I don't care if you use aim point, vector putting. I don't care if you walk around, use your weight. Doesn't matter to me. I just want you to get it close to being correct. I mean, the ball is smaller than the hole, right? So we can make a little bit of a mistake, and it can still go in. Now, so Tom, you're right there. So what I'll ask him to do, and it'll depend on how they actually perceive it, how they see it, right? So if I ask Tom to put that tee kind of near the hole, so it doesn't get in the way where the ball's rolling, at his read. So one of the things I do with people is I'll have them stick the tee in the ground. I get my bag of tricks, which I don't have very many tricks. Yeah, go ahead and read it. So now we as instructors have a reference point of what the heck they're seeing. So Tom's got this thing read. OJ, what is that? Left edge? Okay, so it's on the left edge. So you can hit a putt yourself. You can get one of these tools that'll roll the ball for you. Because generally what I see with green reading is our members and our players, it really doesn't matter what level they are at either, is that the player is going to see a lot less break than they play. So they'll under-read and over-aim, and some days they'll make them, and some days they won't. So there's a tool out there that's a plastic version of this that I use a ton to force a player to start the ball where they said they wanted to start it. This can be brutal too, so you got to be careful. And you can frustrate a player pretty doggone fast because they can't get it through the gate. So does everybody know what this is? It's just a ball start line tool. Yeah, yep. So I filmed the Dave Pelz one, and the reservoir was so deep that when you hit the ball, it hit the edge of the hole, and then the ball actually flew over the little marbles. And so I was like, okay, well, it's got to roll. I know Phil was talking about launching the ball on short putts. I want the ball to roll the entire time. I know it's going to skid a little bit, but I don't need for it to to launch. So to have the balls fly, more than a foot for me is kind of taboo. But again, getting somebody to hit a putt and force them to aim where they want, if you looked at this putt, can everybody see from there? Because he didn't hit a good shot here, this break. So if we were to look at this and I were to aim this at this target, and I were to hit at the correct speed, which I don't know. Does anybody have any ideas about how far they want the ball to go past the hole?
15 to 18 inches.
8 to 10 inches? 12 to 18? Yeah, whatever it is. I mean, it's your preference, right? Dr. Gruber talked about how he liked to hit the putt 22 inches past the hole every putt. So if I roll this ball down to that target, and that's pretty fast, how far is that past the hole? 2.5. Do you want that coming back? I didn't ask you if you could make it. I asked you if you wanted it coming back. So, the idea being, I didn't line this up perfectly, but the idea being that the next putt is a little bit easier, and you can see if I start getting it to a point where it's not rolling past the hole that much, you can see how far this ball is missing to the right of the hole. So he better start left of that if he's going to hit at that speed. So, Tom, you want to be my guinea pig?
You didn't move it at all. Almost good.
In a game, Tom, you can pick that one up. So if Tom goes and aims at this thing, right? So go ahead and take your aim. I'm gonna use this one because this one's a little cleaner. Okay, just tell me when you feel like you're aimed at the tee. Okay, so I'll take this out, and I'm just perception. This is just perception. So he's trying to aim. Tom, would you say you're aimed right about
there.
right about here?
Pretty close.
So we have our eyes and we have our feet. And I think if you really, really want to putt well, they have to kind of feel the same thing. So right now he's telling me, I see this break with my eyes, and I got it left edge. But if you'd hit it where your kind of body was telling your feet, the proprioception was feedback you were getting back, you'd have probably made it. If you hit it, I don't know, about this speed. So what do you trust? Because how many times have you gotten over a putt and you read it and you go, okay, let's come outside right edge. Let's come outside right. And you get over it and you go, oh, hell no. There's no way that thing is going in. If I hit this and come outside right, it's going to miss a 1.5 foot low. And then you get back and you look at it and you go, boy, it looks like it come outside right edge. Okay. And you get over it again and you're like, what do you trust? Because now, what do you believe? Do I believe my eyes? Which would most of us like to believe their eyes first or their feet? Feet? So that's what Furyk does. Furyk will get over it first. Looks like he's going to pull the trigger. Everybody wants him to pull the trigger. And then he gets back. So he's getting information, right? In order to figure out what he's going to do. So if I took Tom back and I said, okay, you've read this the way you've read it, and I gave him a different way to confirm what he sees. So I have all these things, I call them confirmations. So once you get your read and you go, okay, left edge. If you were to, sorry about that, if you were to look at this a different way and say, okay, well, if I hit this putt at the speed that I want to hit it, perfectly at the center of the hole, how far would it miss to that right side? So take a look at that, Tom. I'm just trying to give different ways to kind of look at things, because that might help us match up what we see with what we feel. Is it gonna, would you move? I'll give you a different tee. So how far to the right would that ball miss if you hit it perfectly straight at the hole?
If I hit it, oh,
No, a perfectly straight putt at the center of the hole,
Center of the hole?
and you saw it, and it was starting to lose speed and slow down. How far to the right of the hole would that miss? Okay, so now that might be a little excessive, but let's say it wasn't. Let's say it wasn't. Well, why the hell would he only play left edge if it's going to miss that far to the right of the hole if he was hitting it straight? That doesn't make any sense. Does that make sense to you guys? Okay, so this is one way to confirm it. So another way is, if you looked at that same putt, I'm going to put these balls out here. Just talking about read right now. I'm not talking about stroke. I'm not talking about anything. I just how do I figure out where the heck to hit it first? Because I got Xander, and he would look at this same putt. He might have breaking the other way 5 years ago. I mean, it was bad. He'll tell you it was bad too. Okay, so if you were looking at the middle ball, you're still putting the middle ball. Could you ask yourself, well, how much lower could I make it than that at a firm pace? Because I'm assuming this is just the pace, kind of just a stock pace that you're going to hit it, whatever, 12 inches past the hole.
Yeah.
Could you make it any lower than that?
I would say no.
Okay. How much higher could you make it than that?
Probably a couple inches.
Okay. So what I like to talk to people about is the spectrum. That there's a high line that you could hit it on, max break, drip in the side door, and then there's a low line you can hit it on, where you would firm it, but it wouldn't go, more than 3 feet past. Although some of the kids you got kids out that can flat out, and they don't care how far it is coming back. They're just going to ram it in the back edge anyway. But if the spectrum doesn't quite fit, and you can't go any lower or you can't go any higher, then you may be on the edge, right? So downhill putts, I might favor the higher line. Uphill putts, I might favor the firmer line, because I got to hit it hard. It's going to stay straight longer. Does all that make sense? So then if I sit here and I go, so there's a couple ways. You've got your first read where you just kind of go, okay, well, I think I need to hit it there. Then you sit back and you go, okay, well, if I hit it straight, how far would it miss by? Okay, well, it's going to miss pretty far, so that didn't quite work. Okay, well, I can't go any lower than that, but I can go higher than that. Well, what if you read a putt to the side? So if you stood over and read that putt, does that look anywhere close to being the correct read? Would it have to be higher or lower?
I'd say maybe a touch higher.
Touch higher? Okay, so then go to the other side and read that one.
I would say that one's probably still a touch higher.
Okay. So, again, this is just to try and make sure you make a good decision on where the hell you're trying to hit this thing, right? So he's got his one putt, the middle one, where he read stock at the beginning, left edge. But then he goes and reads one to the side and says, well, that's not high enough for that one, and it's not high enough for the other one on the other side. Well, it's not going to be high enough for the one in the middle if the two outside ones are not high enough, right? So you can get back on the other side, you can look at it from here and do the same thing. How am I going to figure out what this thing is really going to do?
It's almost like that thing Phil used to do. Remember for a while how he putted, where he would start like he was
Yes.
doing his practice thing and work his way across?
He was at Champions in Houston, I think. And Jim was telling me that story about how Phil would go around in a circle, and Jackie Burke, and the bet was I could make 100 putts in a row. Is everybody familiar with this?
Yeah.
Missed the third putt. Phil says, double or nothing. Jackie Burke said, Phil, I can't eat that much, because it was for dinner. But again, just kind of trying to figure out where the heck I need to hit it, right? So going back to aim. Once I have a player that gets better at reading, well, now if I can get him there, I kind of want him to aim there. So I have what I call the 10 Commandments of putting, and I always forget them. But it starts with read. So, because if you can't read it, and you have a perfect stroke, perfect aim, perfect ball roll, perfect tempo, perfect speed, ball starts on line, your attitude is good. Attitude is a biggie. But the read's not right, you're going to miss 100% of the putts, unless some type of act of randomness that Grover always talks about. I don't know if you guys know who Dr. Grover is, but I always try and I have this thing in the back of my cart where I'll stand on it. I look like a circus clown because I'm rolling the greens. If it's not perfect, I want it to get perfect. And Grover's always like, why are you doing that, man? There's randomness all over the place, and you need to putt with it random. But I just want to see it do what it's supposed to do. So if you have all these things, and these aren't all my 10 Commandments. I got these from Carl, I don't know how many years ago, 20-something odd years ago. But if you can do all these, you're going to putt lights out. You're going to putt lights out. I'm looking at Stan's stroke, and I'm like drooling. His stroke's so pure. You know, if that guy reads it right, he's going to make it. A lot of them. But that's the biggest thing. So we've got our members, and they can't read, and they're not going to spend any time on reading. Now what? What do we do?
Send him a caddy.
Because now it's luck, right? Because if you can't read it, it's luck. It's going to start on a line that they didn't want to start it on. So what do we do? Because we got to figure out something. We got to help them make more putts. Otherwise, they're not coming back. So we got to figure out what their tendencies are, and the tendencies are going to be different. Left to right putts, right to left putts, uphill putts, downhill putts, putts from 5 feet, putts from 15 feet. All the patterns are going to be different, but you've got to figure out a pattern. So this tee in the ground is huge for us as instructors, because I can get up here and I can say, okay, Tom, I'm going to just give you a bunch of random putts, random distances. But I want you to put a tee in the ground where you think the read is on every one of these putts. And if you're standing behind him and you're looking, I'll use a video camera sometimes. I'll use these plates a lot. You can see whether or not he's starting it on his target line or she's starting on her target line. And that'll give you a really, really good idea of how far they're starting it, how bad their reads are once they get farther away. Because I'll tell you right now, if you're misreading it by, what was that misread by, a cup?
Probably.
If you're misreading it by a cup from 5 feet, I mean, it's exponentially going to be on from 20 feet, right? So if I said, and this one's kind of ridiculous, but this isn't our normal putting green. Our normal putting green is by the first tee. But if we were going to have a putt from this hole to that one, and Billy, you want to read it? I'll give you the tee. Does anybody have any questions? Everybody's so quiet. Everybody, this is the last, because I'm last, that's why. Everybody needs beer. Okay, so now we can hold his feet to the fire. Does anybody want to come and take a look at that? Get up, take a look at it. You don't have to be confined to your seat. Billy, I'm going to give you a putter. We're going to hit it. More? Okay. We'll just hit it. So I do this every single time I give a putting lesson. I'll ask guys to put a tee in the ground. I'll look to see where they're aiming. I'll look to see where it starts. I'll look to see, because if they don't start it correctly and it misses, then it might have been red. Okay. Here, let's mark where you're putting from. Okay, somebody else can be the instructor and tell them whether or not it started online. Yeah, go ahead and putt it. You got an audience there. They'll tell you whether or not it started online. Need another one? Are you really? I love it. Says he got it online? He started it up there? Okay, so what you gonna hit off? So that started way left, right? Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. You've got that thing starting. Does anybody else have that read? Higher or lower? Okay. So this is kind of the eye opener. So I'm going to confine you to hitting it where you said you wanted to hit it. So can we agree, Billy, that that's going to be aimed where you said you wanted to hit it? So why is teaching putting the hardest thing to do, I think, in golf? Everybody sees things differently? Same thing, I think, in full swing, chip and pitching, too. So I think it's hard because you don't get any feedback. It's like you hit a golf ball, and it starts to the right, and it curves to the left. You know you hit it with an open face, but the path is going more to the right than the face was. So you get feedback from the ball. The only thing we know right now is whether or not the ball goes in. Because I don't think there's anybody here that would bet their life on any given putt that they knew that they were aimed correctly or their ball started perfectly in line. Because you had to assume with no putting naked, no tools, no nothing, that you hit the ball where you said you wanted to hit it. You have, as a good player, you would have to assume that.
Bad putter.
You're a good putter. But I think our members do too. I think our members think, oh yeah, I think I hit it on my target line, and they're not even close. Okay, so why? What was the cause? Your feel. Your feel's telling you if I started on this line, there is no way it's going in. So I got to start it higher. But just kind of trust yourself and just hit it on that line, because it might go in if you hit it hard enough. Yeah. Did it hit the tee on the left? So again, when you're starting, if you've got your students, like I'm trying to tailor this to the people that we see every day, or you've got juniors. Everybody here teaches probably a pretty good junior. What's up, TJ?
Hey.
How you doing, buddy?
Good.
That's one of my good juniors. Everybody here's got pretty good juniors. Well, let's just get them started the right way. Let's get them reading them right, and getting them a little closer to getting it on their target line. So right now, we're just letting Billy be an athlete. We're just letting him be an athlete. We're letting him putt. We're letting him adjust. Okay. So got through. If you hit it harder, yeah, maybe it's got a chance. But you'd have to hit it pretty firm. Oh, 100%. I'm 100%. And then they played up here. No, seriously. So when I first started with Xander, he would look at a putt like this. And I swear to you, Sean, where are you at? Sean knows. He'd had it right here. And then he'd do something to get it out here. And one day, how many people of us have these students where, hey, pro, I made everything today. And the next day they come in, they don't sniff it. For 3 weeks, they won't sniff it. But they can, anybody can get hot for a little while. Yeah, pretty good. So as you get somebody on you don't have to have a plate. You can put 2 tees, and how many people use string lines? So that's one of the things that Xander will do that every tournament. One of the things he'll always work on is ball start line. He'll get a string line that's yay long, and he's not hitting a very long putt at all, but he'll put 2 tees on either side of that string, like barely bigger than the ball. It's such a penalizing drill. I would get frustrated doing it myself. But, so if you like that speed and it's missing here, then that tee would need to go somewhere over here. Does everybody understand this? But if we never, so I went, I'm not gonna say who I watched, I paid $1,750 to go watch somebody teach for a half day. And there's a young professional, I don't know what he did, I think he was in the stockbroking business, and he said, you know, he was hitting the ball, and no, I need to go putt. So they putted, and they got him on this computer, and the stroke was good, and then they went out to the putting green, he didn't make 1 putt. And he said, see, gosh darn it, this is what I'm talking about, I don't ever make putts. And he never asked him where he was aiming. I think it's kind of important. I mean, what do you see? That's okay. What's that?
They go together. When you move start line, you move green.
Yeah, so, okay, so if somebody said, I don't care about reading right now, I need to work on my stroke sucks, they're the boss, right? They're the boss, they're paying you, they're the boss, they want to do what they want to do. They work on their stroke. Okay, well, if you can start your ball in line every single time, and your aiming is pretty good, you need to look at what your patterns are. So, another thing.
You were saying Xander always using working on his start line.
Constantly.
Start line should reach not get better.
Yeah.
Improve the start line, then you see where you're really missing.
Yeah, we operate on really working on read. So now green books are going away, and this is for the PGA Tour guys. So being able to see it and feel it with your feet, I think that's gonna come back. There's another guy that's out of Georgia who's got this Egos. Have you guys heard of Egos? Expert Green Reading Operating System. He's got a putter that he's patented that hangs perfectly straight down, no matter how you turn it. So that putter, if you hold it and plumb bob, it doesn't hang perfectly straight down. But he's got a system that he uses to where he'll plumb bob. So I never understood plumb bobbing. People ask me about it. I don't know. But there's math that he uses to figure out how much break there is on a green. But again,
So, I read a couple of months ago, you should do 20% more break than what you see here.
yeah, well, it depends on what your pattern is, right?
Because you find that people play less break on their read and then end up getting involved with more break.
Yes, 100%. So that's just it. But if you would ask them, they would tell you, well, I want to see what's there. I don't want to see a third of this and then play 2/3 more and aim 2/3 more. I want to hit it where I said I wanted to hit it. And I want to get the feedback that I need in order to become a better putter. That's what at least that's what most of my students say. And then when you show them, so left to right putts for right-handed players generally are harder. Why? I don't know. It just is. I don't think there's any scientific fact behind it. Right to left putts generally for right-handed players seem to be easier to hit for most. Generally, they're red even closer right to left putts. Brian, would you say that's true?
What do you mean, the reads are better?
That right-handed players, their right to left reads are better.
Yeah,
Still probably low, but not as low as left to right.
if they equal out.
Yeah.
Left to right low, or right to left is definitely higher,
But still low. Yeah.
From experience with this too, I can say that when I stand over this looks more right than I mean, it doesn't look like it points to that.
Yeah, yeah,
So that goes in the way, either way, they both look lower than.
Yeah. So stand over this. Has anybody stood over these lines yet? So stand over this and act like you're gonna putt. There's 2 more lines this way. Billy, stand right here. So when you look up, do these lines look like they match those lines? Yeah. Left. Yeah, that's generally what we see. So there's another drill that we do that I actually got from Brett. Again, where's Brett? Where you can take this on the road, and again, it's calibrating. So we'll put 3 balls in a perfectly straight line. And you can use a chalk line, you can use a straight line, you can use a laser, you can do whatever. And you take 3 steps in between each ball. So I'll just do it real quick so you can see it. So I'll have players do this before their competitive rounds. So if I put a ball here, I'll take 3 steps. 1, 2, 3, put a ball down. So obviously that's a straight line. 1, 2, 3. And then it takes 30 seconds to line them up. You gotta back up. But Billy, the same thing goes here. Let's just say these were in a straight line. I didn't straighten them out. When you look, that middle ball always, for most people, looks way to the left, but it's not. If you were to take the time to straighten it out, it's just like those 2 lines look like they're pointing left. But again, I think that has a lot to do. Well, let's line them up if people are going to actually look at it. So this ball has to go this way a little bit, Billy.
I was gonna say the other way.
Well, get farther back. You're in a position where you can get farther back. So if you've stood over those 2 lines, the 2 lines that run into the other 2, do they match up? Because if they do, you're probably in a pretty good spot. You're probably free. But this again, to me, this is all eye calibration and body calibration. Alan, is that? So the middle ball looks like it's to the left?
Yeah, my perception looks like it's something over here.
But the thing is, it's not.
Right.
And so if you're standing over a putt and you're trying to aim your putter, because how many people teach people that actually aim well? We already said nobody really aims very well.
This looks perfect.
Yeah, but you're okay. So darts, bowling, pitching, golf, side on sport, bent over. I turn my head. Right. So this is kind of this is part of the problem. Yeah. With the board like that. Right. So hopefully we can see what's actually there. That's a big one. Because if you can't, it makes it super difficult to aim.
So is it just eye training drills to get
Some of
your
it,
eyes,
yeah.
So basically so we're just basically putting this on hold and then we're going back into the eye training drills so that you can see straight first before we get back into the actual teaching the techniques and all that.
So Xander really struggled. It was like SOS, you need to come to the PGA Championship. And I hadn't seen him since the US Open. And he'd been home a couple times. So here's another one. If you got good players, college players, good juniors, pros, and you haven't seen them for a while, you need to make sure that you tell them, hey, this is on you, this is not on me. I've been texting you, I've been calling you, we've chatted, but we haven't seen each other and I haven't been able to see where you're at. So I don't know where you're at. This is on you. So that was the conversation I had with Xander was, hey dude, this is SOS emergency and we're trying to make the Ryder Cup and we got all this stuff going on and I don't know what you're doing because I haven't seen you. Played pretty well at the US Open. I was at the US Open. Everything looked really clean. Reads were good, ball was starting on line, his aim was pretty good, speed control was pretty good. Where's Mike Fox? Is Foxy here?
Yeah, he was up the clubhouse up there.
So one of the tools we use when I'm not around is the blast motion. So he'll sit in his hotel room and he'll work on his tempo. So I know that's calibrated. But other than that, I don't know where the hell he's putting the tee in the ground. I don't know where he's looking. And so he came back and he couldn't see straight. He couldn't see this. So here you got a guy Stan, I don't know if Stan's still here, but I mean, he's teaching guys that play for millions of dollars. And they want to get it right. And if it's not right, they might get it sometimes, but they're not going to get it all the time. I mean, if you go back, so I'm not a huge stat guy, but I'll have my players not only write down every shot they hit in a round of golf. So, you know, does everybody look at Shot Tracker on PGAtour.com? Does everybody know what that is? So for the tour guys, it's all done automatically for them. They can go back after the round, they can look and see exactly what they did. So their coach is at home and they can at least see where they're hitting it, how close they're hitting it, from how far they're hitting it from. But then the other part is I make them do charts for putting. I want to know every single putt you hit. I want to know how far you were. I want to know what kind of putt it was. Was it uphill? Was it downhill? How much break there was? If it missed, where did it miss? How far did it miss by? Was it short? Was it long? They fill out spreadsheets. So Xander has to do that. Well, Xander doesn't do it. His caddy does it. But, you know, my college players and my high school players do it. And I talk about Xander. Go ahead.
I was wondering, how about the eyes? Like dominant eye?
Yeah, left eye dominant, right eye dominant.
Do they see different?
Yeah, 100%. I think so.
From different ways?
Yeah. So does eye dominance play a factor in what they see and how they read and how they aim? I think so. When Carl taught Ben Crane when he first came up, and we were looking for a caddy for him. I say we, I was a part of the process, but not as much. Brian, do you remember any of this? Where you used the pool table and they were asking him if the pool table was tilted? And some guys would come in, oh yeah, this is like this, and this one's like this. And Brett Waldman came in and he goes, what are you talking about? It's straight, it's flat. And so then they went out to the putting green and they were asking Brett, does everybody know who Brett Waldman is? He was Charlie's caddy, they just split ways. But Brett Waldman was an unbelievable green reader. And what we found out just by asking questions over the years, are you left eye dominant or you right eye dominant? Most people are same side dominant. So if you're right-handed, you're right eye dominant. But 75% of the tour is cross dominant. So if you're a right-handed player, you're left eye dominant. So if you look at a guy like Jack Nicklaus or Tiger, they can turn, they can turn a heck of a lot more than somebody that's right eye dominant. Like a Jim Furyk goes like this, because he's looking at the golf ball with his right eye. Or Nicklaus can turn a heck of a lot. It's a pretty big advantage. But what we've seen for green reading is straight putts for left eye dominant players look slightly right to left. Enough that you might miss it from 10 feet. Have you seen that? And right eye dominant players see straight as a little left to right. So how many people have gotten over, stood over a putt and looked at it and go, man, that looks like it's a little right left. And then you go to the other side of the hole and you go, man, that looks like a little right left. Does that happen to it should happen to everybody. When I see that, man, I hit it straight. I don't play anybody.
Derek, could you say that again? What it was? Left eye and right eye dominant?
So this is just from what I've seen with my students.
Yeah.
Over the past 20-something odd years of teaching, I ask them what eye dominant they are.
Yeah.
And when I put a digital level down, does everybody have a digital level? So they put a digital level down on the ground, find something that's perfectly straight, and they stare at it. And even though it reads zeros, you go, oh man, it looks like it's like this. Because I can tell you right now, if you don't know what straight looks like, you're in trouble.
But left eye dominant.
Left eye dominant, right left. Right eye
left.
dominant, left right. That's what I've seen. But you got to test your own players because it's not foolproof. That is by no means 100% foolproof. I've got left eye dominant players that see straight putts as left to right too. But again, if you don't know what straight looks like, so again, calibration. So if you calibrate your eyes, you stand over these lines, and they look straight. Great. If you're aiming your putter a little bit better, great.
There's more to that story. I think that's eye surgery.
Sure.
So I think if you don't,
Well, eye surgeries are interesting. I haven't had enough people to know personally, given lessons to guys that have had eye surgeries or gals.
but Ben, had correct.
Corrective surgery, yeah. How long ago was that?
It was early on. He basically had to relearn what straight looked like.
Yeah.
So every week he was working on the level,
Well, the digital
finding
level.
a straight putt, and just sit there and study it until
Yeah.
he could figure out what it looked like.
So I don't know if anybody heard what Brian just said. So Brian teaches out at PGA West, and Christy Kerr, and I don't know how many other great players he works with. But you know, sometimes you have to relearn what straight actually looks like. Is that a guy? I don't know if nobody's really probably heard of Aaron Goldberg, but he was an All-American at San Diego State. He hurt his back. He was on web, had a really good chance to make it. Really good player. He had to train himself to see what straight looked like, because every time he'd get over, put a digital level down, and it would read 0, 0, 0, 0, and to him it looked like he needed to hit it on the right edge, and he'd do that on the golf course, and he'd miss it on the right edge, because he thought that straight actually wasn't. Right? And he's looking at it and he's going, man, that thing has to move. But the level says it's 0, 0, 0. So what I tell my guys and gals, if you put a digital level down before you go play a tournament, and it looks ever so slightly like this, and you roll balls and you hit putts, or if you use the perfect putter, and it's not curving, and you get on the golf course and you see a putt exactly like that, and you play break, shame on you. Even though it looks like there's break. We get fooled all the time. All the time. And our feet fool us. Nothing's foolproof. I give lessons to all kinds of people. There's a lot of pros I give lessons to that they'll do aim point or they'll do whatever, and they'll put the tee in the ground, and it's wrong. And I show them it's wrong. And then they sit back and they look and they go, okay, well, maybe I'm not calibrated correctly. Okay, well, go get yourself calibrated and let's talk about it again. But if you don't know where to hit it, putting's luck. It doesn't have to be.
What about equipment? Do you think everyone's been
So somebody was talking about the bloodline putter earlier.
yeah, that's going to be fitted for putters and stuff?
Yeah, I mean, I think everybody's different. I know Larry Bishman is the guy from Bloodline, and I actually have 2 of them because I asked Xander to get them for me. But if you can eliminate variables, why wouldn't you want to eliminate aim? If you could eliminate aim, and you could just put your putter down and it stood there, why wouldn't that make sense? I can sit back there and it's standing up. Now when it's windy, sometimes it blows over. And who knows how long it's going to be legal? Nobody knows what the bloodline putter is? It's a pretty interesting deal. I had a bunch of my students get it just to practice with it, just so they could get over it and look at what correct aim actually was. Because again, if you're standing over this putter and you want to aim at that ball, but you're aiming at the hole, that's a problem. Most of us. Does that make sense to everybody? Calibration. I met Mike Bentley a few years ago. Is Mike here anyway? And the boys over in class, Grange and Dewey. And man, what an eye-opener that was. Thought I knew what I was talking about. No clue when it comes to how smart these guys are. But one of the biggest things I took away from stroke stuff, I don't really get into stroke, but if you have good tempo, stroke cleans up pretty good.
You mentioned learning tendencies.
Yeah.
And, you always hear on TV, the right-handers hate right to left, or whatever it is, but shouldn't you just kind of be telling people to kind of get over that at some point?
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, they always say it on TV, but that's just talking yourself out. Well, I like right to left more. I mean, if you can make it to go there with your eyes, that's great, but that doesn't really matter because it's not coaching to make.
Absolutely.
Just to say those phrases doesn't help your student.
Yeah. I don't know if everybody heard that, but no, you know what I tell people? Every putt's a straight putt. Gravity makes a curve. So if left to right, right to left, you can see how much it moves, and you can hit it there at the right speed, and if the ball's rolling pretty good, it'll go in. Barring any acts of randomness. Doc Kroger, you got to tell Doc Kroger what we're talking about. No more questions?
Have you ever had, talked about eye dominance, have you ever had people line up the ball with closing their non-dominant eye?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I've had people line up and read as a lefty, but hit it as a righty.
Okay.
So as a coach, you just want them to get it done. You don't necessarily care how it gets done. Stan was saying that earlier. I mean, these guys that are talking before me are so much smarter than I am. Unbelievable. But we all come to the same conclusion at the end. We just want our students to get it done. They can figure out a way.
Derek, why do you think, if you done any research, why are there so many more cross-dominant people on tour?
I don't know. You see that a lot in baseball too. You can tell the baseball hitters. My son plays a lot of baseball, so I watch a lot of baseball. But you can see the same right eye dominant hitters that are right-handed. They'll stand like this when they're looking at the pitch, and then when the pitch comes, they step in. Whereas left eye dominant hitters, they can stand like this because they're looking out of this eye. You watch any baseball game, you can tell who's same side and who's not. I think it's an advantage to be cross-dominant. So Jason Goldsmith talks about quiet eye, not letting your eyes move around all over the place. Well, if I can only turn my head like this to look, as opposed to being right eye dominant and going, let's say it's a long putt, going. Because how many of our students do that? So then we talk about the stuff that Dave Phillips talks about and Greg. I mean, if you don't have the mobility to be able to move, we're in trouble again.
What about looking at the hole?
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know, but yeah. I mean, I've seen people do it for distance control.
Would you let a student do it or experiment with it or talk them in or out of it if they're thinking about it?
If it's going to help them make more putts,
Yeah.
do it. If it's going to help them make more putts, I don't care what you do. You can stand on your head and hold it with your feet. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I just want you to make more putts. But I want you to make more putts consistently. You know, Xander said something. So he made like $4 million last year as a 23-year-old kid. And he didn't win this year, and it was kind of, you know, he doesn't know because he won twice, so he thinks, oh, I should win. But he didn't. He came close a couple times. He made an equipment change, changed the ball, tried to change the driver, that still hasn't changed. Tried to change the irons. They made him a set that is real close to the 750s that he had. Got Titleist wedges. I mean, he changed a lot of things. So for him to do as well as he did, I thought it was pretty good. I told him don't change anything. You get out there, boy, start changing stuff. That's when people start going away.
I had a question.
Sure.
Obviously, we're talking team, starting it on the right line. I spend a lot of my time with my students from 20 to 30 feet.
Mm-hmm.
We should be blaming three putting on not getting that first putt close enough, so the start line's important. But do you have any exercises for speed?
Yeah. So Phil Rogers is a genius, and he was doing a junior clinic for us at the top end of the range. I don't know if you remember this, but he said it's not a 3-foot circle that I'm trying to get it into. I don't want to hit my ball into a 3-foot circle. I want to hit it 1 foot above to 5 feet below. I'm sitting there, I'm like, and he said it should look like a football. I can't talk like him. But he said it should look like a football because he said, well, if I hit it 1 foot above to 5 feet below, I can make that one above the hole, putting downhill. But this one's way easier. Right, so let's extrapolate that out to a shot from the fairway, 150 yards. Who has good juniors? So they're playing in a tournament, they set their bag down, they get their laser out, they shoot the laser, and it's 152 yards. What do? They hit it 152 yards because they're really good. But who was it? Mike Bender said yesterday, most greens that we play are pitched from back to front. So if I miss it to the right or to the left, 15 feet, great shot from 150 yards. I have the biggest breaking putt on the green. And I can tell you 15 feet with a lot of break, not gonna make it. So I went through, I watched Jordan Spieth 2015, and I said, God, man, this guy does not miss. He doesn't miss. And I went through and I tried to look to see what it was that he was doing so different. So from 20 to 25 feet, and I could be wrong, but I think it was 20 to 25 feet, he made almost 30% of his putts. The next closest guy was 17%. So I'm sitting there, I'm like, what the heck could be, what's he doing so different? So then I went on to PGAtour.com and I clicked on all the videos. Does anybody look at videos on PGAtour.com to look at swings or whatever? So there's a lot of putting videos of Jordan Spieth. Well, I'm watching these videos, 17-footer, cans it, 20-footer, cans it, 12-footer, cans it. And there's the occasional 60-footer with 15, 20 feet of break that goes in and he's like, oh my God. But most of the videos I watched, you couldn't tell if the ball was curving. It might have been, but from the video, the angles, it wasn't like an obvious, so what did he do? He hit his ball. So everybody knows Jordan Spieth's a pretty good iron player. Statistically, he's a pretty good iron player. And he can place his ball where he wants to place it. So when he won 2015, what was it, Chambers Bay? So he's on a par 5, missed the green, short-sided, hits a pitch up onto the green, and he's right by one of those furry microphones. So you can hear him and Groller talking. And he chips it to about 6-7 feet underneath the hole, and he hands the wedge back to Groller, and he goes, that's perfect, I can make that one. He wasn't trying to chip it in. He was just trying to put it to where he knew he could make the next one. Straight up putt. If you tell your members that, even if they do it once a round, you'd be lucky to do it once a round. They're going to have a better chance at making it. It's just, it's easier. Speed doesn't matter as much. Ball's not curving. Any other questions?
Do you have anything to speak on for routine, length, or anything like that, or when it comes too long and they need to back out kind of thing? Anything you have a preference on? If they see it, feel it, roll it. That's insinuating quickness, but Justin Rose takes forever to roll a putt if he lines it up. Some people cover it. They're good putters.
Yeah, I think everybody's different there. I taught a girl from San Diego. She plays on the LPGA Tour. I taught her from 10 to about, she was an All-American for 4 years at UCLA. Tiffany Joe. Does everybody know that name, Tiffany Joe? Her pre-shot, didn't matter what shot it was like 12 seconds. I mean, there was no thought process. It was there it is, I'm going. I mean, she would, and Chris Riley plays fast. I don't know if anybody knows, seen Chris Riley. They can't even announce his name on the tee. You know, now from San Diego, whoosh. Chris Riley. I think everybody's different. You know, I think everybody's different, but I think if your pre-shot works for you, now you only got 40 seconds to hit the shot. I always try and get people not thinking as much. Go and hit it, find it, hit it again.
Well, I like what Dave Kelly said, that you have a short-term maybe goes away in about 8 seconds. So he wants you to hit the ball that rapidly from approach before you lose that feeling. Not everybody probably agrees with that, but
Yeah, I mean, one of the things that I actually do like in terms of routine is almost actually a post-shot routine. Does everybody know Jay Brunza, Dr. Brunza, Tigers guy? So he has this deal where he talks about react, relax, review, refocus. He's got the 4 R's. And the review is important to me. So if you hit a bad shot, make a couple practice swings before you put the club away to feel what you wanted to feel and what you wanted to do, then put the club back. Other than that, like I said, everybody's different. I mean, Xander's watching him sometimes like watching paint dry. But what I do like is he's just getting all the information to make the decision, the correct decision, to then go ahead and play the shot. So sometimes it's shorter, sometimes it's longer, but I know that when he's pulling the trigger, he knows what he's trying to do.
when would you change it? Like, because it could come to a point where it's like, okay, you're taking, some people need a change.
Yeah, sure. I have a junior that just finished second in a local junior golf tournament, and he hadn't been breaking 80. And I had him come and play out with some of our couple guys I teach that play the web. And it was like, he wouldn't even look. He'd just get over the ball and swing and look up and it's going somewhere. He hasn't looked at all. So we had him walk a little slower. I didn't. These guys are working with him going, man, it's like, and then come to find out, he just wanted to get it over with. And if you watch this kid hit a golf ball, you'd be like, this kid's good. If he would just take his time and kind of relax and go. But it was a fear thing for him. He just wanted to get it done, wanted to get it over with. This kid is 13 years old. He got the highest score on a linear algebra class at UCSD. He speaks 5 languages. He's an Olympic hopeful swimmer. Like, this kid is unbelievable. And he's one of the nicest kids you ever met. But you don't, I mean, he's a genius, and you know, sometimes you don't know what's going on in their head. He said, I'm just trying to get it over with. And he loves golf. It's not that he doesn't like golf. Yeah.
So I took from from one of the speakers earlier. It said don't let them, don't let your students practice too long. Let them come back with more ambition for the next
Yeah,
lesson.
Dave.
As far as putting, would you let your students putt for as long as they want, or would you be on the same track as keeping their motivation to continue? They made like 5-10 putts, and you're just like, okay, we're good today, go home. I read, I think it was Tiger Woods' book, where he was just like, when he played bad on course, he would go and practice, and then he got it right when he was practicing, and then he would continue to practice so that it would ingrain good motor skills.
To be honest, I haven't really thought about it that much, but in my teaching and some of the stuff that I'll have guys or gals go and practice, I'll have them set up a plate. And I'll have them hit the putt. It could be from 15 feet, could be from 5 feet. They make it, and everything was right. Pick up, do another putt. And then do another one. And do another one. So random, I think Stan was talking about that a little bit. Why would I put these long old putts when I can hit this one and then go and do some random stuff and get some good feel and some good touch? But I'd have them randomize it, and if they're doing pretty well, I mean, you could talk stats with them and go, well, from 3 feet and closer every year, there's 4 to 8 players on the PGA Tour that do not miss, 100% from 3 feet and closer, out of 800 tries. But the worst guy from 3 feet and in is 97% and change. So if you're a student at the club who's not putting on perfect greens, well, our greens are pretty good. But generally speaking, what if they don't? What if they're not a member of a private country club where they're 12 or 11 and glass? And you've got all these acts of randomness on the ball. They can't control that. So they're not going to be, their strokes could be just as good. Their reading could be just as good. But they might miss because of randomness. They might make because of randomness too.
And then they might get bad information, right?
They could.
If they practice.
But in terms of practicing and how long they practice, I mean, you got to practice all parts of your game. I break my guys down into 75%, 100 yards and closer. 80% 100 yards and closer. If they're hitting it good, I've got a kid that's kind of my biggest success story. He was not recruited out of high school. When I got him 4 years ago, he could not break 100. He's one of our members here. He's the best. He's the #1 player on the San Diego State golf team, unrecruited. And it's how often do we putt? Every day. Calibrate him every day. Are you reading it right? Are you aimed correctly? Did you ball start on line? No. Where did it start? Left. What kind of putt was it? Left or right? I mean, I know that guy. And that's what the other thing that you need to do too, is tell your students, look, I need to constantly see you. Constantly. We can't be missing 3 weeks. I can't help you as much as I could. You need to keep coming in. And you sell them a 3-month package. Not a 6-lesson deal. 3 months. After that 3 months is over, you're going to sign up for another 3 months. Or have them sign up for a year. I got your money. Might as well come out.
Is that what you do a lot up here? Is monthly packages, and then they just have to book their time slot when
Yeah,
you're
the
open?
serious ones.
Yeah.
Serious ones. And we'll do the hourly deals, but they'll just pay astronomical numbers. Sean's giving me the. Thank you very much. Thank you for your. Oh, so if anybody did, so somebody talked about branding. Stan, was that you? Talking about branding? So we have these putting plates. If anybody's interested in doing it, we'll put your logo on it, your golf course, your own personal logo. Go on the website or just, Sean, how would I let people get a hold of me so I can get them ordered and give you a discount on them and all that?
It's called Google.
But if you look at puttingplates.com and you just write a note and say, hey, I was at the Southern California PGA Teaching Summit, and you use PGA Pro and customize your plates, the guy that makes them said he would do it for a regular set. So I think it's $100 for 3 plates. And you can get them powder coated white if you want. You can get them, and then we'll put your logo on it. So that way you can brand yourself.
Thank you, Derek.
All right?
Thanks, Derek.
Thank you, everyone. Appreciate it. See you next year.
Tell me we gotta work on your.
Thank you.